The rain had just begun to fall, soft at first, then more deliberate, tapping like curious fingers against the windows of the Coleman's two-story suburban home in Montclair, New Jersey. Street lamps cast long golden halos on the slick pavement. In everything, the mailbox, the wind chimes, the hedge gleamed with the wetness of the evening. It was the kind of night that whispered secrets if you listened closely. Inside, warmth and order cloaked the house. Freshly vacuumed carpets, scented candles glowing from the corners, and an open bottle of red wine breathing on the counter. Elena Coleman, 36, moved gracefully through her kitchen, her bare feet silent on the tiled floor. Her dark hair was twisted in a casual bun, her silk blouse half tucked into faded jeans. She hummed to herself as she diced shallots, the rhythm of the blade hypnotic. From the living room, the faint murmur of the television bled through her husband, David, catching up on the evening news as he always did. Married 11 years. David and Elena had cultivated an image of effortless harmony, a handsome couple with a picture-perfect daughter, an enviable circle of friends, and enough laughter at dinner parties to fill their walls with echoes of joy. But if one looked closer, listened harder, they might notice the little things. The way David's eyes sometimes lingered too long on her phone when it buzzed. The occasional hesitation in Elena's voice when she mentioned her client meetings in the city, the shadows that passed through their daughter Ava's eyes. When neither parent was paying attention, still, nothing out of the ordinary had disrupted their lives. Not yet. Tonight was like any other. Elena set the table, lit 2 tall candles, and adjusted the dimmer to a romantic low. It was their anniversary, 11 years to the day. David entered the room, smiling as he kissed her cheek, presenting a velvet box with an antique sapphire pendant inside. Her lips curled in genuine surprise. "Oh, David, it's beautiful."
You're
"Beautiful," he replied, holding her gaze just a moment longer than usual. "It's 11 more years." They toasted, they laughed, and for a time, the world outside their windows seemed suspended in a perfect stillness. But even in that moment, something in Elena's eyes flickered like a candle catching a gust. A second too long staring into her wine, a smile that didn't fully reach her eyes. And somewhere, deep in the corner of her phone, a message blinked unread. "I miss you. Come back." Jay upstairs, Ava lay in bed, headphones in, sketching shapes in her notebook. She paused. As thunder rolled in the distance, her pencil hovering mid-air, something was different tonight. She couldn't explain how she knew, but she felt it in her chest, an unshakable unease. Meanwhile, black car cruised silently past the house, slowed just briefly at the end of the driveway. Quiet, perfect life. The next morning, Elena left early, before the sun had crested over the rooftops. She said she had a presentation in the city. David kissed her goodbye and stood at the doorway watching her car disappear down the wet street. The driveway felt colder than it should have, and he couldn't shake the chill that settled over his spine. But Elena didn't drive straight to the city. She took the freeway, yes, but then exited 4 stops early, pulled into a private garage in Soho, and took the back elevator up to the 12th floor. She moved like someone who knew the rhythm of this routine, heels clicking softly, coat draped, elegantly, not a second of hesitation. And there he was, Julian Ford, a name once whispered through concert halls and backstage corridors. Julian had been a rising star in the indie rock world until he vanished from the spotlight 5 years ago. His disappearance had sparked rumors, rehab, depression, a messy breakup. The truth, as it turned out, it's Elena. They had met on a flight to Paris during a marketing conference when Elena had been working on a brand deal with a fragrance line. Julian was seated beside her, scribbling lyrics into a notebook, looking every bit the tormented artist. What started as polite conversation had unraveled into a passionate affair spanning years, fueled by secrecy, longing, and the thrill of the forbidden. "I thought you weren't coming today," Julian murmured, wrapping his arms around her the moment she walked in. "I had to," Elena whispered, eyes searching his. "I needed to see you." "But for how long?" he asked bitterly. "You always go back." "I have to. For now." Unspoken words hung between them like dust in sunlight. she knew it wasn't sustainable. Julian was growing restless, and secrets don't age well. Still, every time she tried to end it, the pull of him, his music, his madness, his intensity reeled her back in. Meanwhile, David was slipping into his own quiet suspicion. He noticed the way Elena always left the room to take certain calls. The way she grew defensive when he asked about her meetings. Started digging not because he didn't trust her, but because he wanted to prove to himself that he still could. What he found wasn't concrete. A second phone she didn't know he'd seen. Charges on their joint card from Soho wine bars she claimed she hated. A name Julian Ford scribbled on a napkin she'd thrown away but that David retrieved from the trash one sleepless night. He Googled the name, and suddenly, everything shifted. David didn't confront her right away. He watched, waited, became someone else, a detective in his own marriage. Every lie she told was another nail in the coffin of who they had once been, but things spiraled faster than he expected. Julian, a fit of desperation, showed up at Ava's school. He claimed it was a coincidence he was performing at a nearby college, saw Ava's name on a student art display, and recognized the surname. But David was the one who picked her up that day, and the moment he saw Julian, he knew. The way Ava looked confused, the way Julian looked apologetic. That night, David didn't sleep. He sat in the dark, phone in hand, listening again and again to a voice memo Julian had accidentally sent Elena, the raw, pleading sound of a man begging her to leave her husband. Was visceral. He made a decision. 3 nights later, Elena came home to candlelight again. But this time, there was no anniversary, just silence. David sat at the table, a glass of whiskey untouched. A printed photo of Julian and Elena at a rooftop bar between them. "I know," he said quietly. "Elena?" Froze. He didn't yell. Didn't cry. He just asked, "Why?" She tried to explain. That it was never about love, that she was lost, felt invisible, that Julian made her feel alive. But the words sounded empty the moment they left her mouth. "I was going to end it," she whispered. David didn't respond. He stood, placed his keys on the counter, and walked out. Elena stood there, alone. As the house around her seemed to collapse in silence, what followed were weeks of unspoken war. David moved into the guest room. Elena threw herself into work. Ava stopped speaking at dinner. Julian, emboldened by the unraveling, started sending letters, gifts, a song he wrote for Elena that went viral online. David reached his breaking point. The night Ava came home crying, another kid had shown her the video, told her Julian was her real father. It wasn't true, but rumors, once born, have a way of devouring the truth. David confronted Julian. It was supposed to be a conversation, but it turned into shouting, then pushing. Then a single fatal moment, Julian lost his footing on the hotel stairs, hitting his head on the railing. A sickening silence followed. David stood over him, frozen. Julian wasn't moving. He called 911, told the truth. Almost all of it. Julian died 2 days later. The media storm was instant. Elena's affair became public. David was questioned, but not charged. In the aftermath, silence reigned again, but a different kind. The kind that grows in the ruins of everything you thought you knew. Elena sold the house. David moved across the country. Ava started over at a new school in a new city. They weren't the same. Could never be the same. But sometimes, in the quiet moments, Elena thinks of the night Julian played her that unfinished song. Of the way David used to touch her back when he thought no one was watching. Of the lies that felt like love. She writes them down now. All of it, in journals no one will read. Because some truths, once revealed, don't set you free. They bury you. And in that silence, she finally understands what betrayal really costs.